I think it's happening.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It sneaks up on you. You literally look at me like,
yeah.
we're doing this thing.
We're doing it, indeed.
Yeah. So happy to have you here.
So good to be here.
Yeah. You know what my wife said?
What?
She told me to tell you, she goes, can you just tell Fortune she's great?
Aww.
And then she did one of those happy sighs,
like
a
I love that.
Yeah.
I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, right? And I was like, yeah, I will definitely. I was like, that's how I'm going to open the podcast.
Oh, I appreciate you passing that along.
Yeah,
Tell her
definitely.
I said hello and give her a right back.
I will. All positive vibes around. I love this.
Yes.
So I've known you for... I'm trying to think of how we originally met.
I know. I'm assuming something with the Comedy Store.
Probably.
Roast battles.
Yeah, maybe one of the jams, perhaps. Who knows?
Oh yeah, Comedy Jam probably before roast battles.
Yeah.
Because I did the. Would we have met before we did the Comedy Jam at the Lyric? Wasn't it the Lyric?
Yeah, it's at the Lyric. Yeah.
Because that seems like a while ago.
It's at least 5 years plus ago now.
Thought I met you before.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably
Comedy
somewhere.
Store becomes a very small world after a while.
Yeah, for sure.
When I came up at the Comedy Store when I first started, like Tony was working the door, Tony Hinchcliffe, and it was Benji.
Yeah, that crew.
And then it was Josh and Gerard and a bunch of people. We were all the newbies.
Yeah.
But I was sort of like my own thing, and everyone had like their group, but everyone was really nice to me.
So what do you mean you were your own thing?
Like I came from Groundlings. I was in the improv sketch world.
Yeah.
And I kind of was like, I want to try stand-up. And so I didn't know anyone. I just like started taking a class.
Mm-hmm.
And then that class led to a show in the Belly Room at the end of the 6 weeks.
It was like a performance class at the end. Yeah.
And then that Adam Barnhart did the show up in the comedy.
In
the Belly Room. So then he let me do music for his show every Sunday night for like a year.
What kind of music were you doing? On piano?
I mean, I was literally, no. I wish I could play piano. I literally pressed play.
Oh, you were iPod.
And I pressed stop. I'm like, I'm a DJ.
I'm a DJ.
Play, stop.
Play, stop. Pause. Fade in, fade out.
In return, I got 10 minutes every week as a brand new comic.
I did that many times for people when they're like, I don't have anybody to run music. And I was like, I will do it for a spot.
For
Why
stage
not?
Time, yeah. And so I was kind of like, I was doing that upstairs while, like Chris D'Elia was kind of coming up in the OR. And so I would like go down and watch all these guys do their thing. And Angelo and Josh and Gerard were around. And we'd be like, hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
And so I was kind of a loner, but then slowly got to know everybody. Yeah. And felt like more of one of the gang.
Part of the community.
Yeah. But for the first little bit, I was just kind of an observer.
Yeah. Just kind of soaking everything in.
Mm-hmm.
Being studious, okay, this is how it goes around here.
And then I was at the Comedy Store like all the time for like 4 years. And then I started touring.
Yeah, you've been touring a lot.
I started touring in 2010.
Yeah.
And it really cranked up in 2011. And so now I feel like I pop into the store, but I don't get to like hang around as much as I did in the beginning. And
it's one of those places where if you stay away even for a little bit, there's so many new faces that are constantly coming in and out of there where you're like, oh, this is okay, interesting.
Yeah, so when I go now, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I know all the, the comics that were around when I was coming up. A lot of the new ones I don't know. Yeah. And I feel so out of the loop.
Yeah, it's interesting. Even with like the wait staff and stuff, like I've been on the road more this year, like on the weekends and stuff, and it's weird to come back and be like, oh, okay. Like there's been some turnovers.
Yeah. And, for people that, didn't know, I started back in 2006 or whatever. They're like, oh, you do stand up? I'm like, I'm on the road. I'm on the road. I'm on the road.
I'm constantly selling tickets on the road.
Busy.
Don't look down on me because I'm touring. Because you had started Groundlings, were you prone to doing more characters in your stand-up, like starting out? Like, what did some of your early stand-up look like?
It was a lot of stories about my mom in the beginning. So I would do her sort of as a character, where I was just like, "Hey," like a mom voice.
Yeah.
Like, why do you get so upset? And so I would go into voices, but then it would be stories about my family, mostly her. And then I had just come out of the closet in 2005, started stand up like a year later, so it was all kind of being discovered.
How soon were you talking on stage about it after you came out of the closet?
Pretty soon. Was
that like freeing, or was that kind of scary? Because that's a lot kind of all at once, like to be like, okay, this is who I am, and now not just telling my family, I'm telling everybody about it. It was
really crazy at first, because I still didn't know how, like, you don't just like know how to be gay, you know what I mean? Like, you are that.
Yeah, there's not like a manual like, well, congratulations.
I wish there was a pamphlet, something. So the stories were more about me just trying to figure it out, like being awkward. I did bits on how when I first started going on dates, I couldn't stop saying the word gay date. And I kept saying, like, have you ever been on a gay date? And they're like, why do you keep saying that?
You mean a date?
So, it was a lot of awkwardness.
It was like at the beginning, you're like a straight person, like pretending to know things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, I can't believe we're on this gay date together.
You think these people around us know we're on a gay date?
Yeah. Is everybody cool over here?
And I also did the thing I think people do early on in stand-up, and I was very self-deprecating. I still am to an extent, but not nearly.
You went real hard on yourself at the beginning.
Because I just assumed that I was, getting up on stage, being a bigger girl, being a lesbian, having this southern accent, this big hair. I was already thinking in my head what they were going to be thinking about me. So I was like, I'm going to just, like, beat them to it,
Yeah.
And show that I'm okay with myself, to make them feel okay with me. And so in the beginning, I think a lot of my stand-up was sort of defined by that self-deprecation.
Do you remember, I feel like every comic in their first couple years has a look-like joke that they go to when they open. What was like one of your opening look-like jokes, like when you were starting out?
I still have one of those. My first one was Jonah Hill, because he had just done Superbad.
Oh, I bet that crushed.
So one of my first jokes was people going, "Hey, you look just like that kid from Superbad." But I just did one that will be in my special, where I say that people say I look like the kid from the Sandlot movies.
Oh, nice.
So, you gotta always have one of those.
Oh, I still have different ones that, because I got my haircut and is very drastically different look from my other one.
Yeah.
And my one of my first year ones was when I had like more of like my bob kind of like wavy hair. And like one of those jokes is like, I know what you're all thinking, just another lesbian comic up here. Just like one of those kind of things. Yeah,
you just want something that kind of breaks the ice a little bit. But I swear, anytime someone posts any video of me on kind of like Comedy Central, any like bro-y site, I mean, the comments are like, it's the kid from Bad Santa. It's just like, so I'm like, I'm not just like pulling this out of thin air.
Yeah.
People say it. So why not just like.
So why not you address it and beat them to the punch?
Yeah. I don't care. I'm like, yeah, sure. I look like that kid.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right. Let's move on. Let's get to my jokes.
Yeah. So but I've tried to be more conscious about not making myself the butt of the joke as I get older.
Yeah.
And more established in my voice.
Sure. I think the more that you're in it and the longer that you do it, I don't think you need it quite as much. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of like everybody, when you're starting out, you just need any kind of running start and momentum. Where a super established comics, I see when they go up there, they literally just start. Well, sometimes they'll start telling a super long form story and have the audience, and it's like, oh, well, that's something that's been they've been nurturing for many years. Because like a new comic, you can't just go up there and be like, let me tell you about my life. It's like you don't even know what's funny about it yet. Yeah, we don't care.
Yeah, I'm still awkward at the beginning of stand-up sets, and I think it's because I'm a similar way in real life. When I'm talking to, I'm like, hey, what's up?
Hey, so, how's it going?
What's going on? Is everybody cool?
You guys good or what in here?
So I really am like, yeah. So what are you guys eating? Chicken tenders? That's cool. And then finally, I have to just sort of be like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And then it like starts.
It's like a plane that's slowly like coming up and down off the ground.
Yeah. And especially at the Comedy Store, you can see dudes be like, oh boy, what is this going to be?
Oh, what are we in for here?
What's Bad Santa going to do? And then once I get into material, I just sort of go on that autopilot.
Yeah.
Like,
do you do much like it seems like you're pretty scripted once you start, right?
Once I'm locked into set, I'm pretty scripted, but when I'm finding my material, I do a lot of improv.
Yeah.
I'll do like the set, I'll do like 25 minutes of pretty like to the book of my book or whatever, stand up. And then I'll be like, where do you guys work? What do you do? You know?
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of riff with the audience for like 15 and then go back into material for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I feel like that's super. I think every crowd kind of enjoys at least some kind of interaction at some point. Like, oh, we're a part of this.
But when I was prepping for, a special, I was very much like, I gotta run this set. I can't interrupt it.
That's a discipline thing that I definitely need to work on because I have so much fun just being free and interacting and stuff.
I hadn't done it before. I'd done 2.5 hours, and I didn't realize how much work the hour is.
Yeah, what was that like transitioning from like you're like, oh, okay, I've done 2 of these half hours, got that, but then that jump to the hour, like I know it's just retaining people's attention and just feeling like there's a good flow for that much longer. Like, what's that like?
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I made the half hours seem like nothing.
Yeah.
Because both half hours, the Comedy Central one was essentially 21, 22 minutes. And then the Netflix one was 25 minutes, so you're not even running a full half hour.
Yeah, it's almost just like a feature set.
Yeah. And so you can kind of just get up there and just tell jokes. But I feel like the pressure with the hour these days is, so many people are doing them. You're trying to stand out in some way.
Yeah, what's a through line maybe or something that you have?
Trying to find a through line. What's the story? What's the theme? It's not as much about here's a bunch of jokes. It's like I'm trying really hard to craft a story for you that takes you from point A to point C, and we got to go we're going to go a bunch of places together till we come full circle, and that was a challenge. Because I had to really like treat my set like almost like a football game where you're like, excuse me, where you're like recording your sets, you're listening to them, the next day,
watching like game tape and stuff like that. Yeah,
you're like, well, that worked, that didn't. Okay, this doesn't tie into that. I was really having to craft it in a way I had not done before, and then to like perform it. You want to run 75 minutes because you're going to most of the time cut it down to an hour. So you're like, oh boy, 75
minutes now. Oh, okay.
And you just have to hope that people are with you, that like, you're like, this is going to be a long journey.
Yeah.
And luckily people were, and you kind of know when things, once I filmed it, you sort of know what to cut,
Yeah.
Like I know.
Like, okay, I can let this one go for now.
Yeah. And but it was a lot of work. And I was so glad to film it because then in my head I knew that once I went back on the road, I could go back to doing 50 to 55 minute sets.
Oh yeah. You're like, this is a luxury
which
now.
Seems like a dream.
Rather than an hour 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you said an interesting thing earlier. You said you wish there was a pamphlet for being gay. Like what now knowing what you do now, what would be a couple bullet points that you would give
Start
somebody?
handing out pamphlets?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make
Hey,
this
congratulations.
pamphlet.
Yeah.
God, it's a lot of most of it pertains to dating.
Yeah?
I think because
Just like certain etiquette and stuff like that, or
a lot of not everyone, plenty of gay people certainly dated other people of the opposite sex early on, and it was awkward, but they did it, and others didn't really date much at all.
Yeah.
And I didn't really date much at all. Like I was just had dates here and there, but not really the object of anyone's affection. So everything that people got to experience as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, I was having to figure out as a 26-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's cute and funny to be an idiot when you're 16.
Oh, yeah.
And awkward but at 26 people are like, what's wrong with you?
You should know by now.
You should know how this works.
Yeah.
So it's more of just like, like here's some tips on first of all, meeting someone's hard, like going up to them, talking at a bar.
Sure.
Online dating's a whole thing. What to say, I'm sure I had paragraphs. You revealed too much.
Oh yeah,
paragraphs.
Like, hey, how are you? Oh well. It's like,
I have a lot to say, and just learning how to play it cool a little bit better.
Yeah, I do that sometimes when I'm texting with just people who I enjoy. I catch myself like I'll send and then I'm like, oh, that was too many words. Play it cool, Jeremiah. Just do these one sentence responses that you never actually do in real life. That's chill, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
God, I think back to some of my past relationships and just the lengths of text I would send and how do they not be like, this person's insane?
They're psycho. Yeah.
You're just like learning as you go, and then at some point you just are like, once it's an old hat, you're just kind of like, this is dating. It's a whatever. It doesn't have such a end all be all
such
thing.
an onus on it. Yeah.
But at first you're like, this is the most important relationship.
This is going to be the end of the world if I don't get this right.
Yeah.
So I want to do this next segment that I'm very excited about, and especially since you start at Groundlings, I think you'll appreciate it.
All right.
It's called Wig.
Wig. All right.
Stagehand, please come. Quickly. We don't have all day.
Wow, it's a slow stage.
I know, the slowest stagehand today. Good grief.
Man, really just moseying on in here.
Yeah. What is it? It's a pedestrian at a crosswalk? What are we doing over here?
Oh, I feel so sexy.
Oh,
I can see.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm looking at the monitor. Oh, there it is. Look at those braids.
You look good.
Woo!
Woo! So let's figure out who these people are.
Yeah.
I think that I love this wig on you so much. I think that you are. You could either be very royal, or you could be somebody who is super white trash trying to live above their means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you got like the braids and like. You think you're fancy?
Yeah.
Can we keep the monitor up for a second so Fortune can see what she looks like?
I was looking at the back of your.
Oh, is it? Oh, do I have?
No, it's just.
There we go.
I keep looking at the side of my hair because these braids are cracking me up.
You look like the Duchess of Isengard. like one of Thor's cousins.
Like if I were Khaleesi, I would be the like lame version of her. Bring me my dragons.
Oh, gross.
God, where are my dragons?
Maybe we can do a Game of Thrones thing.
Oh, sure.
Okay. You are basic Khaleesi.
Basic Khaleesi.
And I am I'm maybe hipster Jon Snow or something.
Yeah, although you look like one of the sword makers like
Oh,
you know, like the
yeah.
bastard.
Yeah.
Who, like, it turned out that he had royal blood, but
he didn't know it
he
for the
didn't know
longest
it,
time.
and so he was just, you know, boinking in the barn and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so
But like, you want to be cool.
I think I'm like somebody who's trying to impress.
You're trying to impress. The
I'm
upper
just like a
crust.
random bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Random. You're a random bastard.
That's what it says in the credits.
Random
bastard, played by Jeremiah Watkins. They didn't even give him a name.
I'm basically
You're
what is it?
basic Khaleesi.
Basic Khaleesi.
But if you want to run it as
I'm
one word.
basic Khaleesi. It's cold. It's cold out here. Ugh.
Hey, like, do you want me to fancy you like some kind of fur or something since you're cold, Khaleesi?
I'd love a coat. I mean, where I'm from, it's pretty hot, and you drug me here to this winter situation.
Yeah, you know, we're trying to prevent the end of the world here, so.
Oh.
You know, but you know, we will kill one of our finest beasts for you to wear it as a coat.
That would be lovely. I hate the end of the world. Ugh, so gross.
Is there anything I could suffice you with outside of getting you a coat, Khaleesi?
I'm hungry. I'd love something with no gluten. So everything's like wheat, bread. Ugh, come on. What are you guys, all a bunch of fatty fats?
We are just killing what we see fit to eat. That is all we have right now.
Okay. Well, it doesn't taste great.
Do you have a favorite kind of food that I could acquiesce for you?
Some oat milk? You have any oat milk?
Khaleesi,
I have this random coffee. Something called coffee. There's a coffee cup here. It doesn't seem to fit this time period.
Actually, that's mine. I'm sorry. I was just hanging out at one of the local shops around here.
Oh, okay.
Spelled with 2 P's.
Oh, that's cute. You're cute, kind of.
Oh, thank you. I'm just a random bastard. I don't have a name.
Oh, really? Random bastard.
I was actually, I'm so lowly on the totem pole in the village that I was never named, actually. I've just always been called bastard everywhere I went.
I like it, bastard.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, I'm a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
I'm like a queen.
So what's it like being a queen?
It's pretty great. People do anything I say, and my parents are dead, so that's cool. I can do anything I want.
Wait, why did you laugh and say that's cool whenever you said your parents are dead? I don't know my parents because I'm a bastard.
True. Well, let me tell you, it's not all it's cut out to be. Because all my other friends, when they had rules, I was like, I'm going to take a bath with my brother. And there were no parents to be like, don't do that.
Yeah, that's not cool. Yeah.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
And I was glad I had that freedom.
Yeah, it seems like you really know yourself, you know?
Yeah, I just, I'm going to rule the land and I'm going to do what I want. I don't want my parents being like, hey, you're spending too much money. Hey, stop taking baths with your brother.
So what will you do if somebody crosses you?
Oh, I will kill them. I won't stick a knife in their face, but I will tell someone to.
Okay.
I'm like, knife in face now. I even make people stab their own face. That's how freaking powerful I am.
If you commanded me, I would do that right now, Khaleesi.
Okay, good. I'm glad to know that you're willing.
I have your allegiance.
Okay, you bastard.
And you have mine.
Good.
That is what I mean. I did not mean to say that. You please don't hurt me.
Stab yourself in your face.
Yeah!
Okay, that's enough.
Will there be anything else?
Oh, that was so fun.
Yes, we're having such a good time here.
Oh, I love bastards.
That was our scene.
And scene. Basic Khaleesi.
I love bastards.
Basic Khaleesi was a real bitch.
Hey, Dragons, get them for me.
Hey, dragons.
Hey.
Can you get rid of his carcass?
Yeah, excuse me. This is kind of disgusting me right now. The sight of dead bodies is kind of annoying. So
it's gonna smell. So just burn them.
Burn them.
Burn them.
Burn them.
Burn his body.
And light some incense because it smells gross.
Yeah.
All right.
We did it.
We did it.
Wig time.
Wig time.
These wigs get so itchy. I forget.
Oh yeah.
I spent 6 years of the Groundlings wearing wigs constantly, and I have a giant treasure chest of costume and wigs in my house, but I don't get to wear them as much anymore.
You should do an MTV Cribs segment with all your past wigs.
Wigs and costume edition.
Yeah.
There would be some pretty fun characters, I think, that could come up with if I just threw on some of these outfits.
Yeah, sometimes I find that like just certain pieces of wardrobe or certain wigs you'll find the character like right away because you're like, oh, this is who this is. Yeah.
Do you have a preference between like doing characters and stand up? Or you like to meld the two?
I like to meld the two because when I just started doing like some of my own headlining weekends, which I'm like really excited about.
Yeah.
And those shows, like I do a mixture of everything. Like I'll do like characters within my stand up. I'll never like go like full costume within my stand up because I like to keep those worlds separate.
Yeah.
Just so it becomes like just so people. I don't know. I just like to keep that separate, I think. Doing the character work like in full costume and really going for it, and then doing just the characters kind of more seamlessly in the stand-up.
Right.
But I don't think I really have a... I mean, I think I enjoy stand-up just because you get to choose everything.
Right.
You get the best of kind of everything.
Yeah.
If you want to riff, kind of the audience. You want to do some characters, some stand-up.
It's less to pack in your luggage.
That is very true. I mean, that's another reason why it's like, yeah, I don't want to carry a trunk around with me. Because I've already had to travel like everywhere with my sacks, and that's a little carry-on.
Yeah.
That's already hard. Like I have to check a bag if I travel with my sacks.
Right, yeah.
And as stand-ups, like that's a luxury if you can fly into a city with just a backpack and a little bag, and then you're set for the weekend.
Pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what's up. Let's get into this next segment right after we plug some stuff. You have a podcast, and do you have any dates coming up in December that you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I'm going to Florida. What's up, Florida?
Florida, that dirty South.
Yeah, December 19th, I'm at the Orlando Improv. And then December 20th through 21st at the Tampa Improv. And then ending the year, December 27th through 28th in Irvine, California.
Nice.
At the Irvine Improv.
Heck yeah.
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 So touring. And then I'm coming up with a new tour for next year, but I haven't put it together yet. Yeah.
You got to think of a name and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be like a real tour. Normally I just...
You're just like,
dates. Dates.
Here you go. See me if you will.
But I do a podcast called Sincerely Fortune. If anybody likes to, I don't know. It's more of a, like it says, sincere version of myself.
Sure.
Because I am very silly and I joke around a lot. And I do, I'm known for being like just kind of ridiculous. And I wanted to sort of challenge myself to dig a little deeper into things and like attempt to not always deflect by making a joke.
Sure.
It's certainly funny at times. Like my mom comes on a lot. Like she just talked about sex, a whole episode of sex. That my mom made.
Was it weird to talk to your mom about sex for that long?
Very weird.
And that's when I reached my first orgasm. You're like, Mom,
she would say things
would
like
she?
That. So if anybody is into that kind of thing, check it out. Or not. I'm not the boss of you.
Yeah, you do you. Very hands off. I've got Kansas City, December 19th through 21st. Chicago, Zanies Rosemont, January 2nd through 4th. And then I added Detroit at the Detroit Shipping Company on January 5th. And then February 6th through 8th, I'll be in Buffalo, New York at Helium Comedy Club.
Woo.
Yeah. And Gage wanted me to tell you, check out his podcast, Reefer Sadness.
Reefer
Did I freaking plug that right, dude?
Yeah.
I'm getting the thumbs up.
And get sad?
Smoke weed and get sad.
Smoke weed and get sad.
Smoke weed and get sad. Welcome back to Reefer Sadness.
I'm really sad.
I'm really depressed.
Oh, I've been smoking so much weed.
Oh, just sometimes, it's the only cure, is more Mary Jane.
I just want to disconnect from the world.
Yeah.
Do you know how much is going on in the world? There's global warming and politics.
It rained today.
It rained.
Don't even get me started.
And so I was just like, I don't want to deal with this. Can I just smoke some weed and
get sad every day?
That is the official trailer.
That's the official trailer. We just gave okay, Gage, you owe the podcast that we did a 30-second ad. We did an ad.
$1,000.
Can you believe that's $1,000 that Gage now owes? I owed Gage money before this for a lot of things.
Now you don't.
Now I don't. Now he owes me.
Yeah.
And then there's merch. Get your 2020 Kill Tony band calendars while you can. There's some great t-shirts at jeremiahwatkins.com. And if you'd like to sponsor the show, or if you want to send some kindness challenge letters by email jeremiahwonders@gmail.com.
Boom.
I do this segment called the Kindness Challenge. Let's get into that. Huh?
Let's get into it.
I do this thing called the Kindness Challenge where I ask people to send in letters, basically, of something nice that they've done for somebody. I challenge everybody every week, and as well as myself, to do something nice for somebody. It can be a stranger. It can be somebody that you know, as long as you're contributing something positive to society and keeping that going.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Can you think of anything in the last couple months that might constitute I kind of did this?
Nothing for nobody.
No.
No.
It can be any personal relationships, family stuff.
I mean, I sort of try to do things for my mom.
Yeah.
On a pretty regular basis.
That counts for sure.
She's a single mom. She has been since I was 12. And I think when you get older and you have a single parent, because my dad remarried, so I don't worry about him as much. But when you have a single mom, you feel a little bit more obligated towards them.
Sure.
And so I try to, she was a teacher and she's retired, so I try to help her out here and there if a bill's expensive or she's has a dental emergency here, something like that.
Yeah.
But that stuff pops up on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah. It's man, I'm doing this kindness challenge thing a lot for my mom lately.
Challenges.
It's exhausting with family.
A kindness daily, weekly thing.
It's not even a challenge anymore. It's just a kindness routine with fortune. Kindness reality. So
I call her my charity. I wish I could incorporate her and get a tax write-off.
Yeah. There's just a section that in giant caps says mom on it. Yeah.
Incorporate my mom.
Yeah, Mom Incorporated. You're paying this out to Mom Incorporated thousands of dollars, Fortune. We really need to look at your spending habits.
She'll be like every now and then, when are you gonna get more famous? I'd really like a new house.
What's her bar for fame? Because I feel
would be buying her a house.
Well, okay. I guess more so what are some of the benchmarks that you've had that she kind of recognized? Because family has very different benchmarks from what you and I and other comedians and entertainers have,
I mean, I think, I worked so many years of not being on anything, and they're all like, what are you doing out there?
Yeah.
Why don't you go to grad school?
And where are you originally from?
I'm in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's right.
So probably when I got Chelsea was the first big benchmark because they finally saw me on television and they're like, oh,
she's doing it.
I guess you are a comedian. And then when I booked the office Christmas party, it was a small part, but they got
You're
to see
very
it in
funny
a theater.
in that, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But they got to go to a movie theater and watch it, and it's hard to get movies in the movie theaters these days.
Yeah, especially with all the streaming opportunities.
Yeah, so because I still don't think my family thinks Netflix is a big deal. It is to all the rest of the world, but they're just like, unless it's like on a CBS
Yeah.
or a movie theater.
Sure.
They're like, what are you telling me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
why are you such an alternative comedian, Fortune?
not my brothers. They obviously know. It's more like my parents.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We don't have Netflix.
No, we don't subscribe. They ask for your credit card information. We can't give them that.
So I think I've hit milestones that they don't realize are milestones.
Yeah, you're okay. On the next one, cool.
She's
Very
just
good.
like, until you buy me a house,
Yeah,
you're still trying to make it.
yeah, you're still an up and comer. Let's get into this next segment. So something that I tried to do recently. I'll be vague about it, but sometimes I'll shoot shows like when I'm on the road, and if I'm with somebody, I'll try to tape their sets, and I edited a set for somebody that was pretty time consuming recently. That I was like. And that's hard for me to do because I'm not. It takes just to sit down and edit. Yeah. Like Gage, you freaking know what's up, dude. It's like whew, okay. I'm gonna have to get in the right mindset to do this. So that's what I challenge. That was my challenge earlier in the week. I'm like, I'm gonna do this for a buddy. Get them, and they got some good tape out of it. So hopefully that'll help them book some stuff.
Yeah. So that's a real good friend right there.
There you go. This next segment is called Fanning Out.
Fanning out. Questions from fans.
Did we just look off?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
That's the name of that segment.
There's graphics and stuff that we put up, but it looks like we look crazy, like waiting for it. It's like.
And here comes the fan.
So I reached out to people online and I said, if you could ask Fortune any questions, what would it be? Or give us any character suggestions of stuff that we might want to improvise together.
Okay.
And these are some of the
They're like,
the
who's
stuff.
Fortune?
There's always those jerks out there. It's like Google.
They're like,
if you're not familiar.
They're always like, who's that man? There's Fortune's kind of an ambiguous name. Fortune. Is Fortune female?
Yeah,
male
you tell
name?
me.
We don't know.
What is Fortune?
I'm all woman.
All woman. Girl, I'm all woman. It don't get more woman than all this.
Yeah.
Short_and_stouts on Instagram. Excited for this one. Did you always have this sort of energy, or was it something that you adopted starting comedy?
I wonder if they mean my laid back energy,
probably,
or positive energy.
Maybe both. Like just the way, because I think the way like you are on stage, and even how you are right now, it's like it's super laid back, and then like it's like a slobber knocker of a punchline.
Punch in the face.
yeah. Then you punch him in the face.
I've been laid back my whole life. Yeah, for sure. Part of it's that I'm Southern, so I'm talking slower, and I'm like, my mom said even when I was, before I was born, when they would check my heart rate while she was pregnant with me in the hospital, the nurses said I had a slow heartbeat. So they said to her that they were like, you're either going to have a boy or a lazy girl. And so I'm not lazy. I work very hard, but I do have this like kind of moseying. Like,
but you make it look easy.
I make it look easy, even though I'm always juggling like 15 things at a time.
They delivered you like, congratulations, it's a lazy girl. And you're just like, wow. Wow. Even
in college, I was like a social butterfly, and people just assumed I was not much of a student because all I cared about was hanging out with people. Right. And then like 11 that night, I'd go in my room, study my ass off for like 3-4 hours. Yeah. And I know when I graduated summa cum laude,
people were like,
my mom said people around her were like, what?
We thought that child was slow. What's going on with her? We thought she was so lazy.
I'm like, I have a facade of being very like, whatever. We'll get to it. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm like juggling.
You're an evil genius on the inside. Yeah, just brewing.
Well, I have a lot of goals, I have a lot of things I want to accomplish. But I also want to be happy.
But it's funny, like even just the way you talk is super chill. Like it sounds like somebody who's like putting off things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
totally.
Like, I mean, I just have a lot of goals. You know, like
one day I'll do 'em.
like someday like
People think I'm a stoner.
Sure.
I have squinty eyes naturally,
Mm-hmm.
so that doesn't help. And the slow talking.
Yeah.
I'm not a big stoner. I've only smoked weed, or done edibles. I could count on 2 hands.
Oh,
you know?
wow.
But it's just, I think, my demeanor. So I don't think comedy had any influence.
Yeah.
On my.
You're just like, I'm just doing me.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's been organic the whole time.
That's what I've done from day one. Is I've never tried to pretend to be anything other than who I am.
Well, I think that comes through with your stand-up and everything.
Well, that's good.
It's great. No, it's great. That's a compliment for sure. Okay.
I love a question that starts with, all right, well, I guess I'll ask her this.
Yeah, no. This is an interesting one. This is from Colby Haley 9 on Instagram.
Okay.
Ask her how hard it was to overcome the challenges of her life to get to where she is now.
All right. Going deeper.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody has their own challenges and there's different levels and degrees of it. And what might be a challenge for one person is like nothing for somebody else.
Easy or like that. Yeah.
I mean, I certainly have the things that a lot of people deal with. My parents divorced when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have much money at all. We had, the lights get cut out and my mom wasn't sure how she was going to pay the bills. And I started working at like 14. And even though it was like really hard back then, and there were times we thought like we would lose our house and stuff like that. I think, I'm pretty grateful for that because, even though I remember being so stressed as a kid, it did instill a work ethic in me that made me, really deep in my bones be like, I will do everything in my power to keep a roof over my head, my family's head. If no one hires me for an acting job, I will go make coffee. I will do whatever it takes. I'll pick up trash. I'll be a barista. I'll be a waitress. I will do whatever I have to do to be secure and taken care of and the people I love taken care of. And I don't think I would have that deep of a need for that type of security if I had not grown up always being in fear that we'd lose our house or, that who knows.
Yeah, it definitely
happen.
shapes how you look at everything else.
Yeah. And then I guess the other challenge would have been, I was from a small town of 5,000 people. There was no person that was a professional comedian. There was no one in Hollywood. That just seemed like a pipe dream. That's
how it was for me too in Kansas.
Very unrealistic.
It's just like, you don't know anybody who's in the business or anybody remotely close.
For sure. So I moved to LA with the classic tale, $25 in my pocket, slept on a friend's couch. Yeah. And to now, and really not many connections and not sure. Well, I had not done comedy. I didn't know what my dreams were, and to be here 17 years later and working, you look back and you think, holy cow, I can't believe that worked out.
I know. It's kind of crazy to look back on.
Yeah.
What were a couple of your first jobs when you first moved out here? Because you said you were crashing on...
I was crashing on the couch.
Yeah.
A friend from college theater had moved out here a year before me. I got lucky in that I started... I worked as an assistant for an actress. I met her back home. So she ended up hiring me to work for her. When I first got to town, I worked at a jewelry cart.
Did you say cart?
Cart, yeah, not a store.
In a mall?
At a mall, yeah, like those carts you pass by in the mall that no one wants to talk to.
Nobody, yeah.
That was me in Century City.
Did you have to bark at those people like Joe?
Well, because I was so
diamonds.
Because I was so laid back. I was like, does anybody want some turquoise? Moonstone.
Anybody?
Anybody? And then I would just like play on my phone.
Yeah. It's like, anyway.
I wasn't great at it.
Yeah.
And so thankfully that I started working for that actress.
Hi, I need a wedding ring. I mean, is it gonna work out? Really?
What's your birthstone?
Yeah.
You shouldn't get married.
Yeah. That's the wrong time of season.
Yeah. So I was a personal assistant for the next year and a half after that, and I sucked at it. I lost her cat like 3 times. Like literally, my job was to not lose her cat, and I kept losing her cat.
And it's got to be annoying, like hearing from somebody like what like relaxes you, like. I lost your cat again. Like, what? Fortune, I gave you
like
one
her
job.
beloved cat.
Yeah, yeah.
So beloved that she gave it a people's name. It was Kevin.
Oh,
Kevin the cat.
That tells a lot about the person who named it. Anytime they give it a real person name, they have some.
But he would like disappear into this closet. It was like Narnia. I think he went to Narnia. And then, like, would mosey on out, like, 3 hours later. And she would look in that closet, too. And he was not there. 3 hours later, he's like, hey, guys.
Oh, hey.
Because I think he might have been a gay cat. I just imagine him being like, you been looking for me? Well, I'm fine. And
I'm going to do me.
So... yeah, I was not great at that. And then while I was working for her, I got
a gay cat. Meow.
Meow. I randomly got hired as an entertainment journalist.
How did that happen?
Her neighbor wrote for the LA Daily News and was like, hey, I heard you can write. Because I spoke at my college graduation.
Sure.
And she said, do you want to cover movie premieres for me? And you would basically interview celebrities on the red carpet.
What?
And I was like, okay, I guess.
You have a very non-threatening demeanor, and we like that here.
Pretty much these celebrities.
Excuse me. All right, I'll get you next time.
These celebrities would be very guarded, especially back then. It was a little more, it wasn't as open as like social media's made things.
I know, yeah.
And so they were a little more guarded. I could see them kind of like be guarded with people. And then I would be like, hey, how, my accent was even thicker. It's like, hey, how are you doing? I have a couple questions for you. And they would immediately kind of like, oh, well, she's not threatening.
Yeah.
She doesn't want the gossip from me. And they would be really cool.
Nice.
And so I ended up being an entertainment journalist for the next 7 years.
Whoa.
So it was my day job while I pursued comedy.
Wow. So you're just killing it.
Yeah. I was interviewing celebrities like every day from my house for like 30 minutes. I was chatting with these big celebrities.
Really?
I worked with some of them now and they have no idea. I mean, because, they talk to a million people. Yeah. And in my head, it was like the coolest thing. Of course. And they're like, huh?
What were a couple of them that stood out to you, like when you're doing entertainment journalism, that you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this interview with this person right now?
Well, my first interview was with Betty White. And for me, that was like
it's monumental. Yeah.
I grew up watching Golden Girls and I talked to her on the phone for like 20 minutes. And at the end of it, she's like, now stay my friend. And I was like, I will always be your friend.
I needed to hear
And then I met her like 3 months later. I'm like, hey, it's me, your friend. And she's like, what?
That's a great opening. Your friend.
I'm your friend.
I remember you said thank you.
She's like, bitch, I say that to everybody.
Yeah.
I had a really great interview with Rachel McAdams randomly. Really? I just remember she was doing that Wedding Crashers movie, and you could tell she'd done like a million press things. And we just ended up having like a really normal, nice conversation. And at the end of it, she's like, I gotta say, this is like the best conversation. I'm like, thanks, girl. Stay my friend. And then like I got to do like I went to like the re-premiere of Mary Poppins. I like talking to the legends,
Yeah.
And I got to interview Julie Andrews, and I watched Dick Van Dyke watch himself in Mary Poppins.
I just read his book. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and I watched him sing along. It was like crazy,
That is
so,
like you're just like
things like that always were pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's surreal, especially coming from North Carolina and being like, is this gonna work out? And then
well, it was a nice like sort of peek into the business without the gross part of the business, you know, where you're like trying to make it. I just got to like interview people I really admired and loved, and so I got to see like the really cool part of the business while I, you know, was doing spots at the Comedy Store at 1 a.m.
Yeah. This next one, this is a character suggestion. I think it's pretty funny. This is at VanceBoy77 on Twitter. It's overly heterosexual female comedians. So they want us to be overly hetero. Female comedians. Hetero. Yeah, overly
this is not
hetero.
Based on anyone, because if a girl was like this, I don't think she would get very far.
Yeah.
Hey guys. Hey guys. I'm going to talk to you about my vag. It's so big.
Oh, you know, and the thing that's crazy about it is like penises just keep getting in there.
There's so many in there. I've lost count. I'm just like, ugh, how many penises are in my vagina? Like, I don't even like the word. I can't even say it. So I'm like,
yeah, sometimes I wonder, like, is there any possible way of me craving it more than I do?
I don't eat gluten, but I do eat dick.
Yeah, girl. Ladies. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Am I right?
Am I right in here?
Am I right?
Am I right?
Oh my God. Can someone take a selfie of me talking to you?
Yeah. Like, have you ever been hooking up with a guy and another guy hits you like on the cell and you're like, quit right now. SMH. I have somebody else in my bed right now.
And what's up with dick pics?
Yeah,
you know?
seriously. Like, we love them. We get it. You know what I mean?
You guys love sending them, and girls are like pretend like they don't want them, but we want them. We want them.
I mean, seriously. It's probably like I didn't know that it was Christmas Yuletide mornings. Every time I get a dick pic. Yeah.
It's
like, and sometimes I put emojis and like animated hats on them to make them look more distinguished.
and for holidays.
It's actually part of my Christmas cards.
I got a rain dick.
Yeah, a rain dick. On Blitzen, on Vixen, on Dixon.
Yeah. Literally no female stand-up that's worth their salt talks like that.
Worth their salt. That's like
said that in a long time.
I love that. That's such a Southern thing.
Salt.
That reminded me. That took me back. Like, because that's like, there's in the South and Midwest, there's sayings and stuff and colloquialisms where you can stab somebody and disembowel them with 3 words. Like, they're just not worth their salt, sweetie. Okay? Don't you worry about it. Bless their heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're real special.
Real special. This is interesting. Another one. Oh, Santa Cruz. Love her. Please ask her if Dinah Shore is her Disneyland and what is the best part about being a celesbian.
A celesbian. So Dinah Shore, for those who don't know, well, there's the Dinah Shore performer from back in the day. Mm-hmm. I think she came up in the 50s, maybe. She was a very well-known, like, just like variety shows and things like that. Somehow, a group of lesbians started, I think in the 80s, a giant like lesbian, almost like a spring break for lesbians. And they called it the Dinah Shore because, and it's in Palm Springs, still goes on to this day. They named it that, I think, because there was a Dinah Shore golf tournament because Dinah Shore, I think, lived in Palm Springs back at that point. She was retired. And she would play in the tournament, and so all these hardcore lesbians would go to this golf tournament, and at Dinah Shore, like all of a sudden had all these lesbian fans, and this like petite straight woman was probably like, "What is happening?" While like Linda's like, "Come on, Dinah, you got this!" And so in honor of that golf tournament, they named the big party the Dinah Shore.
Okay.
So now it's like tons of chicks in bathing suits that everybody else is half naked. It's like bands, DJs. It's a whole weekend.
Oh, hoopla.
Yeah, so that's what they're referring to at the Dinah Shore. I've performed there several times.
Oh, nice.
And but before I was like really booking TV gigs, I was considered a celesbian, which is like a celebrity lesbian.
Yeah.
Is that together? And they would have me host events and stuff, and I was like sort of famous in that lesbian world, but no one else really knew who I was yet. So I would like sign boobs and stuff back in the day.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. And and so it was it's a trip. I mean, it's a whole different world.
Oh, we're getting our first call of the show. This is crazy.
Oh, really?
I think it's one of the Shores is calling in.
The Shore?
Yeah.
Dude, hey, it's Pauly Shore. Why won't you perform at my event?
Oh, hi, Pauly. I didn't know you had an event.
Oh, you hopped on the phone too? I like that.
Yeah, well, I was put on speakerphone.
Yeah, you put it on speaker. I like that.
So I just figured.
So I hear you keep performing at the other Shores event. How come you won't perform at Pauly's, bro?
Pauly, you know I love you.
Yeah, bro.
But I mean, you're basically just having a party in your backyard, and you invited a lot of chicks
Yeah,
over.
but all the cool lesbians are gonna be there.
I do know you enjoy a bunch of cool lesbians.
Dude, I love lesbians, bro.
I know, and that is something we have in common.
Is that we both like lesbians?
We both like lesbians.
Yeah.
But it just seemed weird that I would perform. Like, I feel like maybe I should just come over and also just enjoy myself.
I mean, if you just want to be a lesbian around me, I guess that's cool too.
That'd be okay?
Yeah, that's chill.
Yeah, I'd prefer that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you there.
Okay, Polly.
He just, Pauly calls into the podcast sometimes.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. He actually, in real life, does appreciate my lesbianism.
I bet he does.
He's always like, let's go find chicks.
Yeah, so what's it like?
When I was single, he'd be like, why haven't we not gone out and find chicks?
Yeah, why aren't we crushing chicks right now, bro? Like, are you calling me bro? Yeah, bro.
He's so funny.
He's so funny. So Beth Stelling, I got to ask this question, then we'll do the final segment. Beth Stelling wants to know, what's your walkout song?
Beth, I just saw her at an audition.
love her.
She is the best. Beth, you know what? I don't have a walkout song, and I was just thinking I need to have a walkout song.
Yeah, because you get asked that at a lot of these different
Yeah.
clubs. Do you want to come out to something specific or anything?
Every club is like, what song do you want to come out to? And I go Dealer's Choice.
Oh, wow.
Keep it upbeat and positive.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Hold me closer, dine and dance.
but what people, what each
what they
club
choose.
considers upbeat
Yeah.
and positive.
Okay, all right. What
It's
is
very
upbeat and
different.
positive for Fortune? Becomes very focused.
Yeah, so I need to find a song because sometimes it's like they really hit the nail on the head. Other times I'm like, what was that?
Yeah. You turn around, you're looking at the DJ like, that's dealer's choice.
I know. That's what
Fold.
I need. That's
No
what
one
I
to
need to
hold
be
'em.
less laid back.
Yeah.
Like Todd Glass is so specific.
Oh,
about
the lighting, everything around the room. Yeah,
He's got
of course.
3-piece band sometimes, and I'm all like, whatever, dealership. So
Whatever.
I need to make some decisions.
Yeah.
So Beth, I appreciate you putting a fire under my ass to do it.
Let's get into this final segment, Sax Talk.
Woo!
Oh, Sax Talk.
It's not a sexual per se, but it's love.
Okay, that works.
That's okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was when I proposed to my now fiance. So I had a very specific plan set out to propose to my fiance. We were going to go to San Ysidro Ranch. Very sexy place. Up in Santa Barbara. It's where we had a date up there early on in our relationship. And 2 weeks before we were to go, there was a mudslide, and it wiped the entire... No one was there, thank God. We wiped it completely out. So we diverted to Big Sur, California. And we went to the Post Ranch Inn, which is considered to be super fancy and kind of cabin-like. It was very misty and foggy. And I thought, okay, this will be good. It's going to be sexy. There's like a hot tub, and, you know, we can get, you wear robes everywhere. So we got our robes on, and we go to our sexy hot tub, and it's outside. And the great thing about these hot tubs is that it looks over to the ocean is right in front of you. It's this giant, beautiful view of the ocean. So you can be in the hot tub, and it's all steamy while you're staring at this beautiful ocean. But it was so foggy. The fog came in a way no one anticipated, that you could barely see the hand in front of your face. And I was like, that's okay. There's other things that will help us get sexy. So we had a romantic dinner planned that night. And I was like, we're gonna have this romantic dinner, and then I'm gonna propose to her in our room. So she looks at the menu, and it's this really weird menu, like food you would, like, you know, that like real foodie food where you're like, why is there foam on this cracker? And it was like, she didn't want anything. So I had told the front desk to lay rose petals down in the room and put chocolate-covered strawberries and light the fire. And I asked the waiter, you know, can you call and make sure they lit the fire and put the rose petals down? And I said, but don't, you know, this is a secret, so don't say anything. So he comes over to the table, and he gives me a giant thumbs up for no reason. She goes, why is he giving you a thumbs up? I said, you know, just why not give each other a thumbs up? And I told him not that we weren't going to have dessert because, the chocolate-covered strawberries were in the room. He kept trying to get her to order dessert. I'm like, man, stop it. So we finally get to the room, and the rose petals, you assume that they would be like red rose petals, like, very sexy, laid out. It looked like someone just took a bunch of dead white rose petals and just blasted them all over the room. And the fire had melted the chocolate strawberries. And the tea, there were supposed to be candles, but I guess they're a fire hazard. So they had tea lights everywhere, like the battery powered ones. But they were all like clearly on their last battery. They were so dim. And we walk in, and she looks at all, like, it just looks like we got robbed, but the perpetrator left rose petals everywhere. And I should have aborted the mission and just been like, I was just trying to be sexy, and saved the proposal for another time, because everything that could have gone wrong did that night. But I sort of fumbled onto my knees. I just sort of fell on the ground. And I had this really long speech prepared and I couldn't remember literally any of it because my OCD part of my brain was so pissed about the rose petals and the strawberries that I couldn't think about anything. So I just was like, oh, I love you. Will you marry me? And I'm not sure she even technically said yes. I think she just like took the ring and we and we kind of just like laid on the little love seat, just kind of looking at each other like, well, that happened. And it goes down in history as the most unromantic wedding proposal of all time. If I had you, though, it would have changed everything. Yeah.
That was Fortune's
unsexy marriage proposal. Oh, yeah.
I wish I had like more sexy stories to tell you in my life, but I don't.
Then I got down on one knee and said, will you marry me?
How about we do this thing?
How about we do it?
But it all worked out. We have had so many romantic trips since.
Yeah, and I bet it's the best funny story that you guys laugh about now.
Oh, yeah. We're just kind of like, why did you propose that night? You could have... We've been on so many better, more romantic trips since.
Yeah.
Any of those would have been perfect. But I'm like, no, I'm doing it tonight.
No, tonight's the night. I'm not backing down.
Yeah. And I would... my advice to anyone out there who's planning a marriage proposal, if things are not going as planned, abort mission and find a better time.
There's always a better time. Well, Fortune, we're out of time. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you making the time to come by.
It was my pleasure.
You are one of those people who every time I see you, I light up. You are infectious with the way you make me happy and others. So it's always a pleasure to see you.
You light up my life.
Love you.
You too, bud.